The world has seen many wars, but none shaped the modern age more than the Second World War. It was a conflict of nations, ideologies, and human will. A war that began with the ambition of one man and ended with the dawn of a new world order. Over 70 million lives were lost. Entire cities turned to ashes. Borders redrawn forever. And out of the ruins, a new global balance of power emerged. This is not just the story of battles and generals. This is the story of humanity's darkest descent and its struggle for survival. Welcome to the untold story of World War II. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe to @thehiddenpastyt, where history lives, breathes, and speaks. Like, comment, and share your thoughts, because this story belongs to all of us. The aftermath of the First World War. The seeds of World War II were planted in the ashes of World War I. Germany had been defeated in 1918. The Treaty of Versailles was harsh and humiliating. The German people were burdened with crushing reparations, their military stripped down, their pride broken. While France celebrated victory and Britain maintained its empire, Germany suffered humiliation, hunger, and anger. It was in this climate of despair that a voice rose, a voice promising revenge, restoration, and power. That voice was Adolf Hitler. In 1933, Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. With fiery speeches, he promised to tear apart the Treaty of Versailles, rebuild the German military, and make Germany a world power once again. By 1938, he had annexed Austria, the Anschluss, and demanded the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. Britain and France, desperate to avoid another war, gave in. They called it appeasement. But Hitler was not a man to be appeased. His appetite only grew. The war begins September 1st, 1939. The world awoke to the roar of German tanks rolling into Poland. Within days, Poland was overrun by the lightning-fast German strategy known as Blitzkrieg, lightning war. Britain and France could no longer stand aside. On September 3rd, 1939, they declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. Poland was divided between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, who had secretly signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a deal to carve up Eastern Europe. Europe was now locked in flames. The fall of Europe. Hitler's armies turned west. In April 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway. By May, they stormed into Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. France, once Europe's great power, collapsed in just 6 weeks. The German Blitzkrieg shattered armies, bypassed fortifications, and shocked the world. In June 1940, Paris fell, France surrendered, Britain stood alone. Across the English Channel, Winston Churchill, Britain's new Prime Minister, vowed never to surrender. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour. The Battle of Britain began. The Luftwaffe bombed London and other cities night after night. But Britain's Royal Air Force, outnumbered and exhausted, held the skies. Hitler's first major defeat came not on the ground, but in the air. The world at war as Europe burned. The war spread. In North Africa, German General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, clashed with Britain's Bernard Montgomery. Tanks battled under the scorching desert sun. Far to the east, Japan sought to dominate Asia. They had invaded China years earlier, leaving behind atrocities like the Nanjing Massacre. Now, they eyed the Pacific. On December 7, 1941, Japanese planes bombed Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. America was thrust into the war. President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared it a date which will live in infamy. The conflict was no longer European. It was global. Operation Barbarossa. In June 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union. 3 million German soldiers poured across the border. It was the largest invasion in history. The Red Army was caught by surprise. Cities fell. Millions were captured. But as winter came, the German advance slowed. Moscow. The Soviets held. and at Stalingrad. In 1942, the Red Army fought back, street by street, building by building, soldier by soldier. It became one of the bloodiest battles in human history. In February 1943, the German 6th Army surrendered for the first time. Hitler's invincible Wehrmacht was crushed. The tide of war was turning. The Pacific War. While Europe fought in snow and mud, the Pacific raged with sea and fire. The United States, led by Admiral Chester Nimitz and General Douglas MacArthur, struck back against Japan at the Battle of Midway in June 1942. American aircraft sank 4 Japanese carriers. The mighty Japanese Navy was broken from island to island. U.S. Marines fought brutal battles. Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Every step forward cost thousands of lives. Japan vowed never to surrender. D-Day and the fall of Berlin, June 6, 1944. D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history, under the command of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, over 150,000 Allied soldiers crossed the English Channel and stormed the beaches of Normandy, France. The German defenses were fierce, but the Allies broke through. Paris was liberated by early 1945. Allied forces pushed into Germany from the west, while the Soviets advanced from the east. In April 1945, Soviet troops entered Berlin. Hitler, hiding in his bunker, chose suicide over surrender. On May 8, 1945, Germany capitulated. Victory in Europe. The day had come. The end is yet. The war was not over. Japan still fought on. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa showed the world the Japanese would never surrender to avoid a bloody invasion. The United States unleashed a terrible new weapon. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was struck by the first atomic bomb. 3 days later, Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Hundreds of thousands perished. For the first and only time in history, nuclear war had come. On September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered aboard the USS Missouri. The Second World War was finally over. Aftermath. World War II had changed everything. Germany was in ruins. Its cities destroyed, its people devastated. Japan lay shattered. Italy had fallen. The Allies emerged victorious. The United States and the Soviet Union stood as the two new superpowers, and the world entered a new conflict, the Cold War. The United Nations was created to preserve peace, but the scars of war ran deep. 70 million dead. A generation lost. Yet, from destruction came determination. Determination that such horror would never again be allowed to consume the world. This was the story of World War II. A war of ambition, resistance, and sacrifice. A war that showed the depths of cruelty, but also the heights of courage. If this journey through history moved you, then join us on At the Hidden Past It. Subscribe now for more untold stories, forgotten battles, and hidden truths. Hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and let history live, not just in books, but in our voices. Because the past is never truly gone. It lives with us, shapes us, and reminds us of what humanity is capable of, both the darkest shadows and the brightest light.